It's another episode of Silver and Black React. As we stand, the Spurs are 1-2. I'm Karl Schoening. He's Jason Minnix from The Blitz. And we have the Lakers coming into town this evening, maybe with LeBron. He's a game-time decision, but the Lakers so far will be one of many early season tests for the Spurs. And as we stand, the Spurs stand at 1-2. They defeated the Orlando Magic, and they had close losses to the Nuggets and the Bucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we sit at this point where the Spurs, even though they lost those games, Pop and I both give the Spurs passing grades. And now the Lakers, is this a
timeout?
Yeah, go ahead.
A little
Timeout.
20-second timeout. You used the word stand twice, and I feel like I need to stand. You give me this chair that sinks so low. You are taller than me, but I feel like I need to stand during this podcast as we're looking at this. I need that moral victory to where I can stand. And no, I'm kidding. But you're right. And you look at this Spurs team early on. While they are 1-2, blowing out Orlando, I don't know. I expected a blowout, but I expected a win just because Orlando was shorthanded anyway, and I wanted to see what this team was going to look like. I was impressed in the losses to Denver and Milwaukee, and I think we're going to see a lot of that this year. Fun games, fun team, competitive, just not stacking up wins.
Yeah, and I think I'm on record on the first episode of this podcast. It's such a tough schedule at the beginning of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they start 3-7, and it's the most encouraging 3-7 in NBA history because they've stacked it up to where they'll play the defending champions twice. They'll play the Lakers twice. They've played the Nuggets already. The Mavericks are hit or miss. I actually project the Spurs to be better than the Mavericks. The Mavericks will just have the best player on the court with Doncic.
Sure.
So you know, when you see the first 10 games, it wouldn't be surprising if it's 3-7, but the 7 losses are all mostly close ones because this Spurs team gets out and competes, and they'll have 6 or 7 players in double figures any given night.
You know, it's interesting. The Express News headline today on the Jeff McDonald article was something along the lines of turning moral victories into actual victories. And, you know, when you go back and you look at the start of this season and in the offseason, what does Vegas have the Spurs at 29.5 wins? On the Blitz, I've said either 33 or 35, whatever it is. I mean, you know, I think, you know, I would take the over on that. But this year, this group, I'm okay with moral victories. You know, I don't expect this team to be a playoff team. Maybe they are able to get into the play-in tournament, but we know they're not going for a championship, right? And it's weird for Pop to have a team at the beginning of the year that isn't going for a championship. But I want to see the young players grow and develop for next year, the year after that. You know, I know we're 3 games in, but Lonnie Walker, who didn't get his extension picked up, certainly is playing the way a lot of us thought Lonnie should have been playing 2 years ago. Seeing Doug McDermott come in and hit a bunch of threes. Not only take them, but hit a bunch of threes last time the Spurs played. Those are encouraging signs that I think a lot of Spurs fans just want to see. I'm okay with moral victories this year.
And I think moral victories only go so far. Here early in the season when a lot of people don't expect you to hang tight with the Nuggets or the Bucks, that's great. Maybe even the Lakers. But like you were saying, turning moral victories into actual victories is the key here because it only gets moral for so long before it's demoralizing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if it's 3-7, okay, but if all of a sudden you're looking at a 10-25 team, then it starts to get, okay, competing is one thing, winning is where you really want this team to make their strides forward.
They have to learn how to win. And, you know, for a team that doesn't have any all-stars at this point, they're sharing the basketball. They're, you know, playing really good defense. You know, the deflections they're getting, the transition buckets they're getting off of that over the first 3 games. Watching Devin Vassell develop, seeing what Keldon Johnson is going to do. And, you know, there's that word, and you kind of go back to Lonnie Walker, consistency. Mm-hmm. You know, can you do it every game, not every 5th game? And I, you know, just knowing for me coming into this season, and maybe it's just so I'm not pissed off and, you know, after every loss that, you know, I just want to see the growth. I want to see the consistency there. You know, I think for Greg Popovich, watching him go Serbian during some of those timeouts. He still has that fire. He, is doing it. But, I guess going, I just want to see them compete. I was pleasantly surprised that they did not get blown out by the Nuggets and by the Bucks. And I thought one of those two was going to be an ugly, ugly, ugly loss. And it wasn't.
That was a really tough back-to-back
Yeah.
to ask of a team to be playing at 8 o'clock Central Time in Denver and then play a team on, I think, 3 days rest, the defending champions, the Bucks, at 7:30 the next night Central Time. So they get passing grades even though they didn't get the wins. And now the Lakers come in, and you want to see the win, especially if there's no LeBron. And, some of the trends that are early on in this season that are interesting to me, Spurs are first in assists, which the way they move the ball is almost like this is Pop's dream team. He doesn't have any superstars he needs to cater to. Keldon Johnson, the young buck, is leading the team in scoring at just under 21 points per game. And their assist numbers are just phenomenal, with Jakob Poeltl being third in assists at 4.7.
And who would have thought Jakob? I mean, and I know he wants to score. Pop wants him to score. I thought DeJounte would end up being the leading scorer on this team. If he was number 2 with DeMar on the team, it would, DeJounte. But he's doing a nice job of passing the ball, facilitate. There's times I want him to be a little bit more selfish. But at the same time, you're seeing the ball movement. They're fun to watch. And I know Derek White did not mean it as a dig when he said the other day, when I first got here, the ball just kind of went through LaMarcus and whatever. And you don't have that ball sticking anywhere right now. And I know, when he said it, I was like, man, that's just – but that's the way the offense was designed when Derek White first got here. This offense wide open, and they're taking the threes. The amount of threes, the volume three-point shooting that they're taking right now over the first 3 games is what Pop has been talking about for a couple of years. But now that LaMarcus is gone and DeMar is gone, we're actually seeing those threes going up at the clip Pop has talked about.
And, I know the percentage isn't there, but you have your volume three-point shooters. Lonnie Walker is leading the league, or not the league, the team in three-point attempts at around 6 a game, but he's only shooting 26%. So you hope that that's his progression over the course of the season. You like to see him as the volume three-point shooter. Now, can he work that to 35 to 40% range? Obviously, McBuckets came in and against the Milwaukee Bucks hit his career high in three-point attempts, 7. And just the way the ball moves with this team, it's built for a guy like McDermott to be able to get those open looks, and he loves it, I'm sure. And it's probably the only time that you can really say the ball doesn't need to go through a superstar on any team in the league. And I love watching the way this team is playing because, like you said, it doesn't stick. We don't have a LaMarcus or a DeRozan or a Kawhi that needs to get 7 dribbles. I don't think anybody's taken 7 dribbles this season.
No, there's no dribbling allowed. You go back to McDermott, and I know he's been in the league a while, and he's well-traveled. I've just always thought of that dude as a three-point shooter. Not that I've watched a lot of, Pacers basketball, unless it was against San Antonio. There's that rare night. His complete game and his ability to slash, I was not expecting that to see that, to be honest. I always just thought he was, he'll do it, but he's just a three-point shooter, and he's not. He is so much more than I expected over the first 3 games.
He's a really smart basketball player, and he's
Coach's
almost
kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Greg McDermott over there at
Creighton,
that's right. Yeah. He's almost the opposite of DeMar DeRozan. He can cut back door. He'll take most of his shots either at the three-point line or inside, and he doesn't dribble at all. Pretty much he is set up to maybe get one dribble to get to the spot that he really wants, but he's not going to be somebody who's a playmaker exactly, but he will be part of a play revolved around getting him an open look, and he knows how to make the smart play, which is very Spurs basketball-like, to where this isn't my look, I'm going to keep the offense rolling and not, all of a sudden stop and say, okay, now it's time for me to dribble baseline or something because I didn't have the defender where I wanted him on the corner 3.
It's nice, and he's like the new guys, the few of them. It's just right now this group seems to be having fun together. It's not like the coffee gang with Patty yet, but this group does seem to have a lot of fun together. And when you follow him on social, especially Keldon Johnson, the they don't go to the gym without letting everybody know they're in the gym. Whether it's midnight, 3 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever time.
Social media era stuff. Yeah.
I mean, we know they're working, and they're working together on their own time, and they seem to be enjoying each other. This seems like it's going to be a fun group. I just hope that sticks when the losses start piling up.
Exactly, because that's what I was saying. Where all of a sudden 3-7, 3-7, okay. 10-25, not okay.
Yeah,
and that's where you start to see maybe the giddiness of the fresh season start to trail off. However, if they can track together some wins and find themselves somewhere around 500 going towards the All-Star break, that's a major win, because I'm on record saying 44 wins, and that's just a few wins over 500.
Ooh.
I know, right? Hey, I've been on that since the off season.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Did you put any money on that?
I should have. Yeah,
I'll take your money.
My brother was in Vegas the other day. I should have told him I'll Venmo you the money to put on him.
If you need to lose money that bad, I'll take that. I'll take that.
You'll take that?
I'll take that.
Well, we got to go over under on that, but still, they are.
I'm at 33 to 35.
33, 35.
I hope I'm wrong and you're right, but I will take your money, Karl.
I think if they're healthy, that's sort of the floor. 33 to 35. Pop gets his pass.
He
his
will
win to
be
surpass
on the
Don Nelson.
The all-time winningest coach. He only needed 26 wins coming in. He's now at needing 25, and it's probably going to happen in March, which is unfortunate.
And I would like it to happen somewhere towards the end of February, but yeah, that's the situation. Maybe
during the road trip, I want that thing to happen at home.
Ooh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I mean, but this team, I don't know if this team is good enough for it to happen in February. I mean, they would have to be the surprise team. And part of it is I think the Spurs are better through 3 games than I thought they might be, but the West is just so stacked that the wins are going to be hard to come by. When you look at all the teams that were there, the ones that are getting better, and that just pushes a San Antonio team a little bit further down. I know you're not high on Dallas. I'm kind of mixed on them, what moves end up getting made, but I just look at the overall in the West. It is just so tough that if this were, they just don't have the horses. And I think they will get some wins on nights when you're playing. The Spurs have become the team that I expect a lot of guys, a lot of stars to rest against San Antonio. Weird to say that, but I think that's going to be we've become the rest game. We've become the homecoming game. We've become when they look at the Spurs and what they have, and they'll be able to steal some wins that way. But second night of a back-to-back for another team, and they're playing San Antonio, the guys will get the rest against San Antonio.
And that wouldn't be a bad thing for this team either, because like you said, they just need to find out how to win, because that's what was almost apparent in the Nuggets and the Bucks game, is that they did not know in the fourth quarter how to flip it into a higher gear, and those two teams did. We saw Jokic pretty much dismantle the Spurs because they were bringing a weak side blitz for double team on anybody, not just Jokic, for a good chunk of the game. And then on the other side with Milwaukee, it just seemed like they had the shot making at the right time, and the Spurs weren't quite there, but they were able to hang with them for 3.5 quarters. So, that's what we should be looking for tonight again with the Lakers. And moving forward is, can they figure out how to – they already play together as a team, which is phenomenal for a group that really hasn't had an opportunity to build chemistry in the past year despite being on the same squad.
Sure.
But if they can figure out where the shots will be made in the fourth quarter, because DeMar was the closer, right? Do you sort of change what you do to maybe make Keldon the closer? And that's a tough situation to ask of a team, because
I think some of that will happen organically. I think you will see that develop. And again, 3-game sample size, you either get one of two things: a team that falls behind early and then spends the entire game trying to dig out of a hole, and they don't have the gas at the end to actually get out of the hole and get the win. Teams that are learning how to win. The Spurs have played well first halves, third quarters, but you mentioned that extra gear. I think they're running out of gas there. They don't have that extra in the reserves, or that go-to guy that that closer mentality, that killer mentality. I mean, they might think they do. They haven't shown it on the court. And this group, even the Derricks, the DeJountes, the Keldons that have been here for a couple of years, who's going to be that guy? Look around and, and again, 3-game sample size on the floor. I mean, clearly Keldon looks like the leader of this team, but there are times where you look like it's Derrick or even McDermott the other night looked like he was taking control. And I don't mind having a whole bunch of guys, but somebody has to take charge in that group. It doesn't always have to be the best player, but somebody on that floor needs to take charge and get everybody going.
And we'll have to see who it is, because that's the other question. And we'll be keeping up with it here on Silver and Black React. Didn't even talk about the Lakers, but we'll just get into them real quick. Again, LeBron, a game-time decision. It doesn't seem to work. They're trying to figure out who they are. The Spurs are actually a little bit more secure in their identity. Is it going to be a situation where Russell Westbrook has to take a step back and go to the bench? Can they figure out their spacing situations?
Well,
they're old.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Lakers. They've got to figure it out, and it will take them some time to figure it out, probably till Christmas. But the Lakers know they will be there in the end. The Lakers have LeBron, and if he's healthy, they are going to be there in the end. So fighting through the growing pains is expected, and Westbrook trying to figure out how he fits. Here's a guy, and he's played with other superstars before, but it's different. How does he fit? And again, all the old guys there, how do you manage the DNP rest games for that group? And if it's LeBron tonight because they're playing San Antonio, which would suck since it's at the AT&T Center, and it's one of the few times the Spurs will get to see him here. But I do think for the Lakers it will take some time. So maybe this is a night where you could steal a win against LA, and you get that. At least when you look at the schedule, if LeBron doesn't play, you always go, well, LeBron didn't play, but steal a win against a team you should not beat, and you've got the opportunity to do that tonight if you're San Antonio if LeBron isn't there.
Exactly. That will be the big determining factor of, I guess, maybe the Vegas odds. Who's going to pick up the win tonight? If the LeBron Lakers are out there, it's going to be a tough night for the Spurs. If it's not, it's an opportunity for the Spurs, because there are nights where Anthony Davis kind of coasts, and I can see a Tuesday night in L.A. where, LeBron's taking the night off from a kind of a freak injury that he just wants to recover day to day from. Yeah, I think that this is an opportunity for the Spurs to pick up a win. And LeBron comes out, Taco Tuesday. He, was somewhere in town. We have the best tacos in the NBA.
If there's a better place for LeBron on a Taco Tuesday than San Antonio, I don't know where it is. And you look at like Anthony Davis, he's such a weird cat because, he might look at this with no LeBron, it's my night. Let me go do my thing. It also might be Westbrook saying, all right, let me finally get to go play a Russ game. And so you don't know I don't know what to expect tonight. A lot of it does depend on LeBron's status and, game time decision. But you look at that and you go, all right, I mean, should be interesting. You're going to go back and forth between game one of the World Series and, the Spurs game. The good news is, Spurs game will start and finish, and, they might be 4 innings into the World Series as long as these games have been taken during the baseball postseason.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how, people's attention span goes back and forth. But I'll actually be at the game. So
you're going to the Spurs game?
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, I'm interviewing Peter Bozic before the game. He's the new Austin Spurs head coach. So,
good. Pete, huh?
Yeah. And that's what we call him, Pete. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have a matchup with Jakob Poeltl and Anthony Davis to watch out for. Mm-hmm. Devin Vassell will be a good defender off of the bench to deal with Carmelo Anthony. So a good opportunity for him.
Carmelo had a good game.
Carmelo dropped like 26 to become the all-time ninth all-time in the scoring list. And then, this is probably Keldon Johnson's chance to guard a LeBron or a Russell Westbrook. The thing about the Spurs is they're 7th in steals. Mm-hmm. I've heard them called disruptive and pokey. So they like to poke the ball loose and go after and start a break the other way. That's really where their strength is. If they can keep up that kind of disruptiveness against a team like the Lakers, who, whether LeBron's there or not, trying to figure out where the main ball handler is going to be. There you go. More steals for the Spurs. We'll see if they can keep it up. All right, he's Jason Minnix from the Blitz, 4 to 7 on San Antonio Sports Star. I'm Karl Schoening, producer of R&R in the morning, 7 to 10. Thank you all for tuning in to Silver and Black React. We'll see what happens with the Spurs on our next edition tomorrow.